Hello friends, in this video we shall learn about the Anglo Maratha War. So we had already discussed about the first Anglo Maratha War from 1775 to 1782. Since the Maratha was facing internal conflict after the Madhavrau's first death in the year 1772, and Raghunath Rao, who was very ambitious to become Peshwa, wanted to gain the power, but the Maratha chief supported the Narayan Rao, who was the younger brother of Madhav Rao first. Since Madhav Rao first died at a very early age, so his wife also performed sati by choice, and they had no son. That is why Madhav Rao's first younger brother, Narayan Rao, was made the next Peshwa. But Narayan Rao was assassinated in the year 1773 in the Shaniwar Wada. And he was murdered under mysterious circumstances by the Raghunath Rao only. And after the death of Narayan Rao, we have seen that his son, Savai Madhav Rao, was declared the Peshwa. Again the Raghunath Rao was sidelined. Now this will create a conflict, and this internal division in the Maratha Empire led to the first Anglo-Maratha War. Now the British East India Company under the Bombay Presidency supported Raghunath Rao for their political benefits. And they signed a Treaty of Surat in the year 1775 with Raghunath Rao. And under this treaty, Raghunath Rao agreed to cede Salsette and Bassein Island to the British for military assistance, and gave Surat and Bharuch for revenue collection to the British. Okay. But this Treaty of Surat was not acceptable by the British East India Company under the Kolkata Presidency. And under the Regulating Act 1773, Bombay Presidency was under the Calcutta Presidency along with the Madras. So in the year 1776, they will sign the Treaty of Purandar under Kolkata Presidency. Okay. And previously, when the Treaty of Surat was signed between Raghunath Rao and the British East India Company under Bombay Presidency, this treaty triggered the war of First Anglo-Maratha War because it has angered all the Maratha Confederacy. And the British initially had succeeded in Gujarat, but faced defeat in other regions as well. And the Marathas, united under the Nana Fadnavis, effectively resisted the British advances. Also, the British Bombay and the Bengal presidencies were uncoordinated in their campaigns. Later, they will sign the Treaty of Purandar. And this Treaty of Purandar was signed between British and the Nana Fadnavis. Raghunath Rao was removed from the Peshwa and had to live under the pension. Okay. So this was the thing. Now let's discuss. After the Madhav Rao's death in 1772, his brother Narayan Rao succeeded him as the fifth Peshwa. Okay. However, Narayan Rao's uncle Raghunath Rao murdered his nephew and declared himself the next Peshwa. So we have discussed how Raghunath Rao, who was the uncle of the Narayan Rao, had murdered Narayan Rao and declared himself as the next Peshwa. But he was not the legal heir. Okay. And Raghunath Rao was the younger brother of Baji Rao first, who was the father of Madhav Rao first and the Narayan Rao. Now Narayan Rao's widow Gangabai gave birth to a son after her husband's death. The newborn baby was named as Savai Madhav Rao, and he was legally the next Peshwa. Then the Treaty of Surat and Purandar. Unwilling to give up his position in power, Raghunath Rao sought help from the British. Since he was not ready to give his power, so he will seek the help from the British in Bombay and signed the Treaty of Surat in 1775. Under this treaty, Raghunath Rao ceded the areas of Salsette and Bassein to the English, and along with a portion of revenues of Surat and Bharuch district. In return, the British were to provide 2,500 soldiers to the Raghunath Rao for his protection. On the other hand, the British Calcutta Council sent Colonel Upton to Pune to abrogate the Treaty of Surat. Abrogate means to dismiss the Treaty of Surat in 1775. Since they did not seek the permission from the British Calcutta Council, so because already as I told you all that the Regulating Act 1773 was signed, so they sent Colonel Upton to Pune to dismiss the Treaty of Surat and conclude a new treaty, that is the Treaty of Purandar in 1776, in which the Regency renounced Raghunath Rao and promised him a pension. Here renounce means to reject Raghunath Rao from the Peshwa position, and also they promised him a pension. Now, in 1777, Nana Fadnavis violated his treaty with the Calcutta Council by ceding a port on the west coast to the French. The British retaliated by sending an army towards Pune. So what happened in 1777? Nana Fadnavis ceded the port of Trombay to the British. Okay, port of Trombay to the France. Okay, to the France, which is situated on the west coast. And this was seen as a violation of the agreement made with the British Calcutta Council, as the British were highly sensitive to French influence in India. And this was the incident that highlights how geopolitical rivalry between the British and the France influenced the Indian politics during the 18th century. It shows that Britishers cannot compromise with their dominance, and to prevent the French from gaining the foothold in the region, they could go to any height. So what happened? British retaliated by sending an army towards Pune. Now the course of war. The English and the Maratha forces met on the outskirts of the Pune. The Maratha army had more soldiers than the Britishers, but the British had much better ammunition and cannons. So this means that the British forces had much better ammunition, means weapon, and cannons. which gave them an advantage, no doubt. The command of the Maratha army was in the hand of the Mahatma Sindhya. So Mahatma Sindhya led the Maratha forces with great skill and was able to resist the British advances. So despite having superior weapon, ammunition and the strategy of the British, Mahatma Sindhya cleverly used guerrilla tactics and helped the Marathas to hold their ground. Okay. So Mahatma trapped the English army in the Ghats, that is the mountain passes, near Talegaon. So all these are involved in the guerrilla tactics only. As the British began to withdraw towards the Talegaon, the Maratha attacked, forcing them to retreat to the Vadgaon village. The Maratha also used the scorched earth policy, burning agricultural land and poisoning the well. So these were the unique tactics practiced by the Marathas to defeat the British. The Marathas surrounded the English army from all the sides and stopped the supply of the food and the water. This was the strategy that Maratha used against the British Empire in 1779. So what they used the scorched earth policy by burning the agricultural land, poisoning the well, and cut off the British army supplies. Okay. The Marathas surrounded the British army from all the sides and stopped the supply of the food and the water. Now the British force had to surrender in the mid of January 1779. And after this, the Treaty of Vadgaon was signed. And under this treaty, the British were forced to give up all the territories they had acquired after 1773 and marked a major Maratha victory. So by the mid-January 1779, the British surrendered and signed the Treaty of Vadgaon, forcing the Bombay government to give up all the territories acquired by the British since 1775. Treaty of Salbai in 1782 and the end of the first phase of the struggle. Governor General of Bengal, Warren Hastings, rejected the Treaty of Vadgaon because again that 1773 regulating act, without seeking permission from the Governor General of Bengal, no treaty could be signed. So Treaty of Vadgaon, wherein the British had to give up all the territories acquired after 1773, was rejected. And also that Warren Hastings sent a large force of troops under Colonel Goddard, who captured Ahmedabad in 1779 and Bassein in 1780. Another Bengal contingent under Captain Popham captured Gwalior in August 1780. Now the British under the General Cavac finally defeated Scindia at Sipri in February 1781. Scindia proposed a new treaty between the Peshwa and the British, and the Treaty of Salbai was signed in May 1782. The treaty guaranteed peace between the two parties for 20 years. The main provision of the Treaty of Salbai were Salsette should continue in the possession of the English. So understand the fact that Treaty of Salbai was signed in 1782 and it was a peace agreement that ended First Anglo Maratha War, which continued from 1775 to 1782 between the British East India Company and the Maratha Empire. The treaty was signed in Salbai, which is a place near the Gwalior, when in the May 1782. The long continued fighting during the First Anglo Maratha War ended with the Treaty of Salbai. Although the British got defeated and they surrendered at Vadgaon in 1779, but the Treaty of Vadgaon was rejected. And what happened under the Treaty of Salbai? Both the sides agreed to return their pre-war territorial position. The British recognized Madhav Rao II as the legitimate Peshwa of Maratha Empire. The British retained the control of the islands of Salsette and Elephanta. The Marathas retained control of their vast territories. Both sides agreed to maintain neutrality towards the Hyder Ali of Mysore, the British key adversary in South India, and both parties agreed to prevent French influence in Indian politics, because Britishers can't tolerate any other European power growing other than itself. Okay. And the treaty ended for about 20 years between the Maratha and the British. It ensured peace and stability in the region, allowing both the power to focus on other things. The entire treaty territory conquered since the Treaty of Purandar in 1776, including the Bassein, should be returned to the Maratha, but Salsette was taken away by the English and Bassein was returned back. In Gujarat, Fateh Singh Gaikwad should continue to hold the territory he had before the war and should serve the Peshwa as before. The British should not provide any further assistance to the Raghunath Rao, and the Peshwa should give him maintenance allowance, means pension, should be given by the Peshwa. Okay, that was agreed in the Treaty of Salbai. Hyder Ali should return all the territory taken from the British and the Nawab of Arcot. Thus, the British enjoy the same privilege in trade as before. The Peshwa should not support any European nation, and the Peshwa and the British should give an undertaking that their many allies would live in peace with each other. So basically, Treaty of Salbai was a peace treaty. Mahatma India should be the mutual guarantor for proper observance of the terms of the treaty. Now the Second Anglo-Maratha War from 1803 to 1805. What was the background? After the suicide of Peshwa Madhav Rao Narayan in 1795, Raghunath Rao's worthless son Baji Rao II became the Peshwa. Nana Fadnavis, the staunch enemy of Baji Rao II, became the chief minister. Discontent among the Marathas provided an opportunity for the British to intervene in Maratha affairs. The British got additional benefit from the death of the Nana Fadnavis in 1800. So what happened after the suicide of Peshwa Madhav Rao first in 1796? Raghunath Rao's worthless son was Baji Rao II became the Peshwa. But his reign was marked by instability, leading to a crisis in the Maratha Empire. So Baji Rao II was a weak and ineffective ruler, and therefore dissatisfaction grew among the Marathas. and Nana Fadnavis became the chief minister. But Nana Fadnavis was strong opponent of Bajirao too. Now in 1800, Nana Fadnavis died. Okay. And the British saw this internal division in the Maratha Empire as an opportunity to interfere in the Maratha affairs. Next is the course of war. On April 1st, 1801, Peshwa brutally murdered Jaswant Rao Holkar's brother Vithuji. So what happened that Peshwa Bajirao too ordered the murder of Jaswant Rao Holkar's brother Vithuji. And this will anger Jaswant Rao Holkar. So he wanted to take the revenge and decided to fight the Maratha forces allied together with Bajirao too. Now on October 25, 1802, Jaswant Rao Holkar decisively defeated the combined forces of Scindia and Bajirao too near Pune. As a result, Holkar installed Vinayaka Rao, the son of Amrit Rao, as a new Peshwa. And after the defeat, Bajirao too fled to Bassein. Now there he will seek for help from the Britishers. And on December 31st, 1802, Bajirao too signed a treaty of Bassein with the British East India Company. So the Treaty of Bassein was signed between the Bajirao too and the British East India Company. Bajirao too agreed to become vassal of the British. That means the subordinate of the British. And the British forces were stationed in Maratha territories for protection. And the treaty effectively reduced the Bajirao too's power and made him dependent on the British for support. So this is how the British usually took advantage and expand their influence in India. And this Treaty of Bassein marked the beginning of the British dominance over Maratha. Bajirao too's power was significantly reduced and Maratha Empire became fragmented and divided. The British expanded their control in India by securing an ally with the Maratha Peshwa, and it also led to Second Anglo Maratha War from 1803 to 1805, because the Maratha chiefs like Scindia and Holkar resisted British influence. So this was the whole story behind. The enraged means angered Jaswant decisively defeated the force of Scindia and Bajirao too near the Pune on 25th October 1802 and placed Vinayaka Rao, the son of Amrit Rao, on the Peshwa seat. The frightened Bajirao too fled to Bassein, where on December 31st, 1802, he signed a Treaty of Bassein with British. So what was Treaty of Bassein 1802? Under this treaty, the Peshwa agreed to receive from the company a native infantry, means military assistance, consisting of at least 6,000 soldiers who were to be permanently stationed in its territories. Okay, the areas earning income of 26 lakhs were handed over to the company, and surrender of the city of Surat to give up all the claims of Chot on the areas under the supremacy of Nizam. So he also agreed to give up all the claims of Chot on the area under the supremacy of Nizam of Hyderabad. To accept the arbitration of the company in all differences between them and the Nizam of Gaikwad, not to employ people from any European country involved in the war with the British, to keep its relations with other states under the control of the English. So all these terms and conditions were signed under the Treaty of Bassein. reduced to the vassalage, means subordinate. So after the Peshwa accepted a subsidiary alliance, Scindia Bhosle attempted to save Marathas' independence, but the British forces under the leadership of Arthur Wellesley defeated the combined forces of Scindia and Bhosle and forced them to sign separate subsidiary treaties. In 1804, Jaswantrao Holkar attempted to defeat the British by forming an alliance with other Indian kings but failed. The Marathas were forced into British slavery and isolated from each other. So the confederacy was broken. Defeat of Bhosle in 17 December 1803, Treaty of Devgaon. Defeat of Scindia in 30 December 1803, Treaty of Surjangaon. Defeat of Holkar in 1806, Treaty of Rajpur Ghat. So Marathas were forced to accept the subsidiary alliance separately in the timeline, and this is how they were reduced to a vassalage, like the subordinate. The next one is the significance of the Treaty of Bassein. So it is believed, that the treaty was signed by Peshwa who had no political authority. Now Peshwa term had no political authority. The provision for the permanent placement of English troops in Maratha territory was a major strategic advantage. The company already had troops in Mysore, Hyderabad and Lucknow. With the inclusion of Pune in this list, the company's forces could reach any place without any delay at the time of need. The Treaty of Bassein now provided the company with a good position to expand its spheres of influence. To say that the treaty gave the British the key to India appears to be an exaggeration. And this is how the Maratha power declined. The British launched simultaneous attack on Maratha's territory and defeated Maratha in parts. At first, the Scindia and the Bhosle were defeated in several battles. Next, in Battle of Bassein, under Arthur Wellesley, finally Scindia and Bhosle were defeated, and the victory gave the British control over the large part of central and northern India. Holkar had resisted the British. He was a prominent and very efficient Maratha leader, very skilled in strong guerrilla tactics of war, but initially he got the success, but later on he was forced to sign the peace agreement in 1805. In the Treaty of Devgaon in 1803, signed with Bhosle, who ceded the territories of Orissa and part of the central India to the British. Under the Treaty of Surjangaon, the Daulat Rao Scindia ceded important territories like Agra and Delhi to the British. And the Holkar, after prolonged resistance, signed a peace treaty with the British, ending his rebellion. And thus British East India Company emerged as a dominant power in India. They gained control over the strategic location like Orissa and part of the central India. So the Second Anglo Maratha War had shattered the Marathas' empire and consolidated the British control over much part of India. This is all in this video. We have learned about the Second Anglo-Maratha War. In the next video, we shall learn about the Third Anglo-Maratha War in detail. Thank you, all of you.